Hey guys, it's zOMG from MMOs.com. I'm doing another quick weekly news recap of all major MMO news and announcements of the week ending March 20th, 2017. This is episode number 87 of the recap, and the first bit of news this week comes from Daybreak Games regarding EverQuest. The game celebrated its 18th anniversary this last week, meaning it officially hit legal age. Even if you never played EverQuest, it's still a remarkable achievement for a game to be running continuously for 18 years. Even though the game is finally an adult of legal age, I actually played quite a bit of EverQuest growing up back when she was still a lolly a year or two after release. It was actually the second MMORPG I ever played after Ultima Online. It was actually a lot of fun, as it was the first really popular 3D MMORPG that really pushed the genre to the mainstream. In order to celebrate their 18th anniversary, the game is holding some events that'll be running from now until May 10th. Given its age though, it's difficult to get into EverQuest now, but if you've played it before, maybe it's worth checking out again. And speaking of old MMORPGs, we have a bit of industry news from Roblox, the LEGO-inspired sandbox MMORPG. The news is that they actually raised $92 million from investors in the latest round of funding. This is pretty important because that's a lot of money, and it shows you how big Roblox has become. Just some context for you guys, Roblox has about 32 million monthly active users, and in comparison, the much more widely known Minecraft is about 55 million monthly active users. So Minecraft being bought by Microsoft raised a lot of eyebrows, and everyone wants to get a piece of Roblox now because it could potentially outgrow Minecraft. Who knows? I mean, the numbers are still pretty huge for both games, but Roblox is growing rather quickly. If anything, Roblox may be even more open-ended than Minecraft, as you can actually make your own games within it. In fact, there's about 22 million games created within Roblox, which is pretty intense. Up next, Myworld just launched on Steam Early Access this last week, and it's interesting because it's somewhat related to Roblox too, because players can actually make their own action RPGs within the game and share them online. So Myworld isn't really a game itself, it's kind of like a game development engine, kind of, made for gamers, so it's a little easier to use. And Roblox really became popular because it allowed players to create their own games within a game, and Myworld is trying to capture a bit of that same essence. And I do think games that give players the option to create content within the game can do really well. I mean, both Minecraft and Roblox are killing it, and Shards Online can do really well if its community tools and modding tools are just done really well and intuitive, but we'll have to wait and see for that one. But Myworld is available right now on Steam. It costs $15, but it's on sale for $11.24. Up next, bit of an update for Path of Exile. The game's player base has grown 40% after this most recent content update. That's a 40% increase to an already staggeringly huge number. The game originally launched back in 2013 by Grinding Gear Games, and has seen their player base consistently rise with every single update. They peaked at around 112,800 players on March 3rd, with roughly 65,000 of those concurrent players on Steam, which made Path of Exile the third most played game on Steam on the day of that update. It's also worth mentioning, since the big March update launched, the player base jumped on Steam from about 12,000 concurrent to up to 60,000, and the number is still about 45 to 50,000 today. So Path of Exile is absolutely killing it. If you've never played the game, it's definitely worth checking out. It's easily one of the best ARPGs out there, and it's free to play. Up next, Pathfinder Online may have actually found its path. Goblinworks CEO Lisa Stevens finally laid out a release schedule for Pathfinder Online and plans to launch the game later this year. And for those unfamiliar with Pathfinder Online, it's been through about a year and a half of complete uncertainty. It was supposed to be canceled, then they were going to work on it slowly, but now it looks like they're actually planning to release it by the end of the year. But personally, I'm not going to get too hyped about this till they actually release it. We'll have to wait and see. They do plan on making it a much more smaller scale indie style game, so don't expect anything crazy, but it's still good to see they're actually working on it and progress is being made on Pathfinder Online. Moving right along, Dark and Light from Snail Games has officially been delayed until this summer. It's in post on the game's Chinese website, and it's a bit sad to see the game delayed once again. It was originally supposed to release into early access by the end of 2016, but of course that day came and gone, and it didn't launch, and we haven't heard anything official until now. So yeah, Dark and Light, the sandbox MMORPG / survival game, is still being worked on and should hopefully come out by the summer. It's an oddball title. It mixes genres a bit with MMORPG / survival elements, but I'm looking forward to at least trying it. The videos look really cool, and we'll have to wait and see. Up next, probably the weirdest bit of news for the week. The US Navy is working on making an online game called Maritime Singularity to generate some new interest around the Navy. It's being billed as an MMOWGLI, which is an acronym for Massively Multiplayer Online War Game Leveraging the Internet, which sounds pretty stupid. I think the regular old MMO would have sufficed, especially since MMO kind of captures the whole leveraging the internet bit. Anyway, the game focuses quite a bit on something called the Singularity, which is a point in time where exponentially increasing technological progress hits some sort of inflection point. The whole game/idea was pitched in an 11-minute presentation, which is light on gameplay and heavy on talk about singularities. The week-long browser game begins March 27th and doesn't seem to have any actual gameplay, just a bunch of people coming online to post ideas and interacting with each other to solve futuristic problems, and the Navy said they'll actually implement some of the good ideas that come out of this. I hate to be a downer, but this sounds like an awful idea. Asking a bunch of online gamers to try solving futuristic problems forums, on the internet, we get some real geniuses over at the Navy. I did like the US Army's approach better with America's Army and America's Army Proving Ground. Those games were actually kind of fun, but this seems like an oddball browser game, but who knows. I'm probably going to check it out of curiosity, but I think they're going to be wasting a lot of money on this one. Up next, a bit of news for Wakfu. The game is delaying its anticipated server mergers and pushed it back until later this year, so the developers can actually focus on the upcoming Mount Zinnin update, which the first part of that is set to roll around on March 21st, and that's update 1.52, which will be adding a massive new zone to the game, which has 3 new zones, 5 ecosystems, a main story quest, new dungeons, and a bunch of other goodies. Also included are new dungeon leaderboards and a revamp of one of the game's classes. But server mergers are still going to happen, just pushed back towards the end of the year. Although server mergers are typically viewed negatively, it's still a net positive for players in the game. Better to have 1 full server than 3 empty servers. That's at least my philosophy, and I'd rather play a game with 1 busier server than a ton of empty ones. Up next, Warhammer 40k Eternal Crusade officially launched as a free-to-play game, switching over from the buy-to-play model. The day it went free-to-play, the player base jumped from about 300 to 500 average players up to 4,000, and as of this video, it's still averaging about 3,000 concurrents, so going free-to-play gave the game an incredible amount of exposure, but obviously we'll have to wait and see if they can carry the momentum going forward. The free-to-play version is called Free Carnage Edition and allows players to play 4 or 5 classes on each of the game's factions. And when they originally went free-to-play, they were going to give only 1 character class, the Orc, but now they made it so you get most of the classes for free, which I think is a good move. I personally had no intention of playing Warhammer 40k Eternal Crusade, but now that it's free-to-play, I'm going to give it a try. I do think a lot of games that are dying or don't get the audience they want should try the free-to-play model, or at least give like a 7-day free trial. That way there's at least a chance of success, because most of these games, they have such a small player base and they're already on the way down that there's really nothing else they can really try. But I expect the first look for this one relatively soon. Up next, a bit of news for Lawbreakers. The game's first round of closed beta testing began and ended this last weekend. It ran until March 19th, and it's the first time we've had a chance to play Lawbreakers since the alpha test almost a year ago. So Lawbreakers is finally making some progress towards release, and I actually had a lot of fun playing it. We do know that Lawbreakers aims to release sometime by the end of this year, but no word on exactly when that is yet. The game is still scheduled to be a buy-to-play title, which I think is going to create some issues, namely because you have another game called Quake Champions from Bethesda, which is actually going to be free-to-play, so it's going to be really hard for a lot of people to justify their purchase, but we'll have to wait and see. No idea when the next round of closed beta testing will be, but hopefully soon. Up next, a small bit of news for Crowfall. Playtesters were able to try out the game's building system for the first time last week, and the video in the background shows off some of the cool stuff players made, from ramparts to maze-like cities, and other goodies. Crowfall is probably one of the most highly anticipated Western MMORPG releases in a while. It's actually one of those crowdfunded games that are actually going to launch, it looks like, so good stuff for Crowfall. If I remember correctly, they were aiming to release sometime in mid to late 2017, so at least they have a soft launch target in mind, so that's good. I actually haven't played any Crowfall yet because I'm kind of waiting for a little more of a complete product before I do a first impressions gameplay video for it, but I'm looking forward to trying it. Moving right along, a bit of unfortunate news from Hi-Rez Studios. The game is shelving Smite Rivals indefinitely, and Smite Rivals was their Clash Royale knockoff game for mobile. I'm actually kind of sad to see it go because I would love to see some actual competition for Clash Royale. But Hi-Rez is going to be working on Smite Tactics and focusing the energy over there. I actually did a first look video for Smite Tactics and I wasn't super impressed with it. There's a lot of card games out there and it's hard to justify Smite Tactics over stuff I'm already playing. But this doesn't mean the game is canceled forever, it just they're going to be working on redeveloping a lot of the game, so it just indefinitely doesn't mean forever, it just means for an undefined period of time. I do think they're going to go back to it though. But for now, rest in pepperoni, Smite Rivals. Up next, an official announcement from Square Enix came out for Final Fantasy XIV, saying they're going to be ending PS3 support for the game when Stormblood releases. This was actually quite expected. I think they announced this before, but they posted about it again. They'll actually be no longer accepting automatic renewals for their PS3 players starting on March 18th, which was this last week. And they picked that date, of course, because Stormblood itself is launching on June 20th. PS3 players can still upgrade their version to the PS4 version free of charge by December 31st, 2017 if they want to still keep playing Final Fantasy XIV. Moving right along, some progress is being made on Moonlight Blade's international release. Not the North American version, unfortunately, but the Korean version of the game is launching its first closed beta test on March 29th. So they are working on international releases. They did say in a previous video that they would be doing a North American release eventually, but still no word on that just yet. The South Korean version of the game does have lollies. They specifically added lollies for the South Korean market, which is definitely a bit odd, but I approve. Given how popular Revelation Online has been and how successful the launch of the game has been, I do expect Moonlight Blade to make its way to the West sooner rather than later. I think Moonlight Blade actually has a lot more to offer. It's a much more ambitious title, and it's backed by Tencent. I think it's going to happen in America. Hopefully, we'll hear more about it by the end of the year. Next up, a bit more news for Kingdom Under Fire 2. The game is making progress on their Western release, but West in this case refers to Russia, and after Russia it's going to come out in North America, but they're also working on apparently 3 mobile games. So the game isn't even out yet. The official mainline title, Kingdom Under Fire 2, has been worked on forever, and it's not released, but they're already working on 3 mobile games for the franchise, which just shows you again how powerful and how massive the mobile market is. The company publishing the game in Russia will be 4Game, the same guys that do Aeon, Blade and Soul, Lineage 2, and R2 Online, all in Russia. I'm actually excited to play this one when it comes out because, again, it's the biggest budget Korean MMORPG ever. Over $60 or $70 million was spent on this one, so it's absolutely nuts. Moving right along, indie free-to-play MMORPG Lifeforge is set to launch on Steam Early Access on March 22nd. It was originally set to launch on the 17th, but it looks like it was pushed back about a week. And based on what I see, I'm actually looking forward to giving it a try. Obviously, it's an indie game, so I'm not expecting the world or anything too grand, but they do seem to have a pretty focused view of the game. They're not trying to promise the world or all these crazy features. They do promise to have some crafting, PvE, and PvP, which seem to be all the staples. And given the game's art style, I actually really like that pixel aesthetic to it, so that's probably one of the reasons I'm going to check it out. Up next, a brand new faction-based survival game, Rend, has been announced this last week, and it's being developed by ex-World of Warcraft developers as well as League of Legends developers, so you have a lot of big names behind this one. The premise of the game is interesting because it's going to have the survival elements of base building, but you can have faction elements in it as well, and only one of the game's 3 factions will end up winning every single time as well. And actually, all the factions can lose, apparently they don't meet the win conditions either. Not too much is known about the game, but the game's Steam Early Access is set to launch sometime this spring, so it's not going to keep you waiting too long. And given the people working on the game, I think there is some potential here. It's a twist on the popular survival genre, and even though no pricing model was announced, I suspect it'll be buy to play like pretty much every other survival game. Next up, yet another older MMORPG is launching on Steam. This time it's The Legend of Ares, and it's coming on Steam on March 24th. The original game shut down in 2009, but Play Red Fox Games is resurrecting it for Steam launch on March 24th, 2017. It's been running on their own website since July of 2016, but now you can play it on Steam much easier. It's an oldie. I can't imagine it'll be too popular, but it's joining every other old game just relaunching on Steam and seeing what happens. Moving right along, a bit of a public service announcement. HeroWarz is shutting down on March 26, 2017, though the game is using the term game pause reminder because they're going to work on redeveloping it and relaunching it, so it's not necessarily gone for good, it's being redeveloped. As the Korean version of the game is uninterrupted, this is just for the NA version, but for now, rest in pepperoni, HeroWarz. The next and last bit of news this week is about a revival for a game called zOMG with an exclamation mark. It's a game developed by Gaia Online. It's an MMORPG built, I guess, within the world, the social world of Gaia Online. The game launched back in 2008 and shut down sometime in 2014. And even though it relaunched now, it looks the same as it did about a decade ago, and I can't imagine too many new players will jump into zOMG, but I guess for people that played it back in the day, it's always nice to see their old games revived. But yeah, that's it for MMO News this week. I'll see you guys tomorrow for the podcast. Later, guys.